Tom here, Flip Anything USA. So today we're going to talk about living paycheck to paycheck. So I'm going to tell you, I didn't finish high school. I actually took a test and I dropped out that day, and then I was done with school. And to be honest, the only time I've ever hurt for money in my life was when I was a kid, depending on my parents, because my parents were living paycheck to paycheck. But so I want to talk about my history, and really probably one of the best thing that happened to me was the fact that we were poor. We were on welfare at times, getting free lunches in school, big blocks of cheese and Caro syrup, I think is what they called it, and powdered milk. If you ever had powdered milk, let me tell you, that'll inspire you to make some money like nothing else. It's so horrible. Hey, Russ, good to see you. So anyways, first of all, I want to tell everybody I've got a webinar. I'm going to do it 3 p.m. today, right? 3 p.m. Go to the links below. Son, put it on the links below, if it's not already there already. Yeah. Yeah, or just go to Tom at Flip Anything USA. But really, the webinar is the key thing. Also, I will be taking calls here. But I want to talk to you guys because, listen, I'm sensitive, especially to you young men, or anybody, really, young men, women, whatever, that are, look, it's expensive just to eat now, right? And I realize that, and I'm a wealthy dude. But when I was a kid, my parents, believe me, we didn't even have bologna. Bologna was a treat, okay? Hey, if you just got here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. But I want to tell you how to get on track to start making money, and I'm serious about this. If you're in that paycheck to paycheck, I don't care how old you are, stick around and listen. And because this isn't overly rehearsed or anything like that, it's not rehearsed at all. But I'm going to show you how I made money before I started flipping real estate and buying, a lot of property. In fact, every time you see one of these properties change behind my head here, that's a piece of property that I've owned. And just quickly, and I know some of you have seen this before, but bear with me, guys. But when you go up in the sky here and you look at my portfolio, you'll see, these properties that I bought over my lifetime, and this is what I bought in my 20s, this stuff here. But before, and it's relative, by the way, right? And I want you to hear this because it's really important. I'm telling you, this is the kind of stuff that can change your life. And I'm not talking about buying my book or getting my mentorship. I'm talking about the advice that I'm going to give you within this video can be life-changing, I promise you. Because most people don't understand it and don't realize it. And like I say, all these properties, I have hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in rents coming in. And, and I'm, like I said, I'm a kid that was at a disadvantage. So if you feel like you're at a disadvantage, number one, you can turn your life around rather quickly. And I'm not even talking about with real estate. I tell everybody that wants to get in my class, whether I let them in or not, get some skills. It's very important that you get some skills. If you don't get some skills, you're going to get nowhere. And, you could even be a talented waiter or bartender, that sort of thing. But let's talk about where the money is. I want to talk about the power of used, okay? This is why I make so much money in real estate, is I buy what? I buy used real estate. And the power of used real estate is if anything that's used has the potential to be paid for or nearly paid for. And so you can buy it at a discount. Well, that applies to everything. It applies to cars. It applies to everything you can imagine. So let me get a iPad going here. And I'm going to tell you about some of the things that I bought, over the years where I've made a lot of money. Let me get a little whiteboard going here with the iPad. So number one, okay, and this is paycheck to paycheck, right? How to get out of this. I do know how to spell, I promise. Let me get it smaller. Yeah. Okay. So you get it, right? We're talking about paycheck to paycheck here. How paycheck to paycheck, how to get out of this There's nothing worse than living paycheck to paycheck. And I got to say, I know it as a kid, right? I was a kid in the 70s, and I watched my parents unemployed, employed, divorced, and all the stress and the stuff that comes along with it. Hey, Kevin, glad to see you in here, buddy. And listen, by the way, you can call in here too, and we can not maybe if you call in, you be on hold here. But what I want to talk about is, so let me just tell you some of the things I did when I was a kid. The only way I had money I didn't get allowance, okay? Or if we got allowance, it wasn't 5 cents or 10 cents. It was it was really really not much. But what I did is, as a kid, I bought candy, right? I just bought candy. So if you're a kid and you're still in school, let me tell you, everybody eats up candy, right? They didn't even have candy in school so much when I was a kid. Now they serve it. Practically, chocolate milk and Takis and all this shit food is in the schools, but it's expensive. But you can compete with the schools if you're a kid, for that matter. But I would go down and I would buy a package of suckers, right, that cost a nickel a piece when you buy 24 of them. I'd go in and I'd sell them for as much as I could. People say, what do you sell them for? And in my mind, I didn't tell them, and it applies to everything that I even do to this day. I sell it for as much as I possibly can and still have a happy customer. And that's what you should do. But if you're in that position of living paycheck to paycheck, let me just tell you a couple things you can do. Look at auctions, right? Also, government surplus. Look, government surplus. Let me get rid of this background. So look, here's a government surplus auction, right? And what you need to understand is, like, see here, and I'm just grabbing this thing randomly. One time I flew to Hawaii. Because let me tell you, like, look at this. See this? Look at this. This is sound recording equipment. Let me pull the iPad out of here. This is sound recording equipment. Let me tell you, the government buys the best of the best stuff at times. And you will, when you have high dollar, like, photographic or video equipment, let me tell you, I used to go to these places, and one time I found pallets of DVRs and VCRs in Hawaii. And so I booked a flight, went to Hawaii. I went down to the auction. Shit, I had no competition there. And I bought, I think, probably 12 decks, of these, 3/4 inch, not professional at the time. Today you'd laugh it out of the room. Not so good. But there's a huge secondary market for that stuff in Mexico and different places, and even in the USA. And so the first deck I looked at, it had a resale value, a used resale value of $2,800. I got that for like $150. I bought probably 10 more that were not quite as good but similar for $50 a piece. And when I got home, the $2,000 that I spent to go to Hawaii and hang out for a week and come back, I got that back like almost tenfold, right? Now, again, that's just one auction and identifying. There's a thing called a scenography machine. I'm going to show you this. Scenography, right? This was an interesting piece of equipment. And I actually got it at a military scenography in theater, okay? Because that's what it was. So you can see a scenography machine is basically, let me see, scenography, it's a projector, right? Let's see if they even have one. Oh yeah, there's so many things I can tell you about. God, is there a scenography machine? This is showing scenography in the background, but basically a scenography machine, it's way more detailed than this, but the bottom line is it's a piece of equipment that would project on the background, and it's what does these theaters things. Well, I went into a military auction, and this box and a piece of machinery, I didn't know what the hell it did, but I started digging into it. I looked into it, looked it up on the internet, and son of a bitch, the things cost $14,000. And it's still a viable piece of equipment to a theater. I offered $100. I got it. I sold it like a week later for $3,000 to Zachary Scott Theater in Austin, Texas. And they may still be using it to this day. So again, a lot of times people don't know what they're looking at, but with the internet and everything's right at your fingertips, you can kind of figure that shit out really quickly. And Alberto wrote, "Hey Tom, would you explain how Ben Mala or even you keep refinancing properties to keep getting loans to keep buying real estate? Can someone who owns..." Listen, I'll tell you what, Alberto. I'm doing a webinar at 3 p.m. or 3:30 today Central Time, 3:30 Central Time. And be sure to get into that, okay? 3:30 Central Time, and I'll get more into those real estate questions. But right now, I really want to just talk to the people that are living paycheck to paycheck, that are looking for alternatives, how to make money. Listen, relative to what you got, I mean, everything has value. And, you know, I like to tell this story. I was looking for lathes, right? And of course, like, so let's look at this. I'm going to show you lathes, metal lathe. Because this is little, but like, so these are really tiny. Anyways, oh God. The lathes that I'm talking about are $50,000-$60,000 new. Let's see. Go to highest price. Okay, see, here we go. See, here's a lathe, $475,000. Believe me. You know, there's big money. There's a lot of lathes of different things. These are, you know, CNC equipment. But I was looking at like a high dollar manual lathe. They were about $50,000, the one that I wanted. It's considered a tool lathe, right? Anyways, I was looking for one of those. Well, I found one in Milwaukee, and I bought it online for like $6,000, and it was worth about 15. I thought, that's a great deal. Got it, $6,000. It's on its way. Meanwhile, I'm still combing and looking at auctions. Been looking at everything. Well, then I find another auction, a little auction in town that really wasn't even being posted online. And this is back in like the late '90s. And I go to that auction, and there's a lathe exactly like I wanted, brand new condition. Plus, it had about $10,000 worth of tooling. There's toolings with all these things. And I got that whole thing for $3,000. So I bought that one too. And this kind of goes to real estate and everything else. You know, if you're investing your time to know what something's worth, then you don't have to stop there. You can keep buying. It could be a car. You know, if you're looking for a used car, like, you know, you go to get a used car, you're looking for, and you know, you're looking for a certain model and so many miles on it, and you got a range of hours, you know, or miles that you'll accept, and a different range of years that has the body style that you like, you know, when you buy something used, you know. And like, I just bought a little Mercedes, like, you know, last week, and I bought it for about, you know, $15,000 under market. You know, it's normally $100,000. I got it for 50. 52, I think. And, but you know, it's a couple years old with low miles, but it was a good deal for that price. But you know, you should never pay full price for anything. But even like I say, when you see a lathe like this, if you understand what a $40,000 lathe is worth, and then you find one that you can buy for 10, well, there's money. You know, I'll show you something else. I'll show you a ladder truck. One time check this out. I bought an American LaFrance ladder truck. This was a pretty cool deal. Let me get my head out of the way here. So an American LaFrance, it's a 1978 fire truck. Let's just take a look. And you know, for fire trucks, there's a huge secondary market. So a ladder truck like this, okay, you know, the one I bought was a 78. It was 15 years old. Well, there's a huge secondary market. A ladder truck in like 1990, let's just say 1990, would still cost you $500,000 for a truck, $500,000. And they certify these things as being safe. You know, they got to check the ladder out, and they do annuals like they do on airplanes. They do them on these kinds of trucks to certify that they're safe. I mean, this thing goes up 110 feet. You know, they go up 10 stories. It's pretty intimidating to be way up there. And I've never gone all the way up, but it's intimidating just being at the base when you push that thing way up. Anyways, so I found an auction in Plano, Texas, and I said, what the hell? And I got a hold of the owner. I got a hold of the mechanics that worked on the machine. And that's where I got my education. He goes, oh, no, that's a good truck. They go, that one's going to auction. They didn't even know it. They go, we didn't know they were taking that out of service. They go, that's a good truck. They go, that truck had just been certified. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, if I get this thing at auction, can I pay you to drive it back? And they said, sure. And so I went to auction and I got a ladder truck like this. I got it for $11,700. And I was kind of shocked when I got the awarded the deal. I was the high bidder. Well, I immediately went to a fire truck vendor, and he connected me with Ponca City, Oklahoma. Ponca City, Ponca, Oklahoma. Well, because a lot of stuff will go to Mexico too, because they can't afford to buy, a brand new truck. And guess what? A lot of the small municipalities, small towns, they can't afford to buy a new truck either. And so the fire department flew a couple guys up here from Ponca City. They took it for a test drive. They go, perfect, we love it. And I sold it for $30,000. So I made basically $18,000 on the truck, like that, right? And these are the kinds of things you just have to know value. It's very, very important. But, those of you that are, like I say, living, listen, you've got eBay, you've got, a friend of mine, his daughter was, while she was in high school, very smart girl. She was running around the neighborhood, kind of, he's a wealthy guy, but his daughter was running, going to the garage sales, and she would look and buy purses. But she knew a $5,000 purse and a $1,000 purse. She knew instantly when she looked at them. Well, she would buy purses, varied in value up to a couple $1,000s new, but she'd get them for peanuts at these garage sales. And she was making, a couple $1,000s a month in her spare time. And this is 20-something years ago, just going to those garage sales. And so, just understand that you got to have a side hustle. And those of you that are, if you're wealthy already or you have a good job, listen, if you don't have any real estate investments, come to my webinar. There it is right there. Go to flipanythingusa.com/webinar. I'm going to have one today, but get on the webinar list, because I've made, tens of millions of dollars in real estate, and I've done it in a fairly short amount of time. And I'll tell you, life's been pretty cool. I've never really hurt for money. The only times I've ever hurt for money is maybe when I was a little bit over leveraged, but I've never gone bankrupt. I've never lost anything. I gave one piece of property back, but that was by design. Again, when I look at a building, or I look at, whatever, any kind of a building, I'm looking at it because that is an opportunity to make some money. And that's how you should look at it. But you can also look at cars that way. You can look at anything that way, and you can get, significantly ahead. And I urge you to take my advice, look at equipment, go to, getting skills. That's pretty broad. If you can't get skills, if you could be a plumber, you can do that sort of thing, but get a skill under your belt so you can have something to make some money. But then on the side from that, you got to learn how to just use your head, and just understand that you can buy. There's used stuff everywhere that you can buy, eBay, anywhere, and whether it's vehicles, or, it doesn't have to be a fire truck, it doesn't have to be a scenography machine. It could be, like I said, tape decks. There's all kinds of things. And then when you graduate past that, then you can start, buying used buildings and used houses. And that's where the big bucks are. And what's great about that is that's the banks, there's nobody that'll give you a 90% loan on anything other than real estate. Real estate's about the only thing a bank would ever consider giving you, 90% financing on. And it's because they know they know that the value historically, it holds itself, or historically on average, goes up about 8% a year, and sometimes it goes up 100% in a year. If you're in the game, you can make a fantastic amount of money in a very short time. So listen, if you don't have my book, get my book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. It's been a bestseller on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. And, try to get into a mentorship. You can go to flipanythingusa.com. Check out the webinar. It's free. I'm going to have one at 3:30 today. Guys like Russ, who's in here right now, watching. Russ has made a couple $1 million since he got in the mentorship. He was already a successful guy, but he wanted to learn a little bit more. He wanted to get more into commercial retail real estate, and that's where he got the skills from. Because I open book. I share everything I know. I share with my students, and they gain the skills quickly. And then, pretty soon they're on their own. And, Jerry here, over $2 million one deal. And he did many six-figure flips before that. All these guys, go to flipanythingusa.com. Watch all these stories. These are true success stories. Compare my success stories to anybody out there that has, that mentors people. You're not going to find anybody that has my experience. Been doing it for 43 years. Started very young. And I've been very successful at it, and you can too. Alberto, back to your question. Listen, Ben, Alberto wrote a question here about how do we keep refinancing? Well, look, I started out in rates that were much higher. And to be honest, Ben screwed up, right? Ben should have refi. That's one of the reasons Ben was losing, $6-7 million a year that he didn't need to lose. If he would have refied earlier in the game, he wouldn't have been so harshly penalized, but he waited too long and he got stuck. And he's like the first one to tell you that he got stuck. He's said as much as in his videos. But I think I've been actually investing longer than Ben. And what Ben didn't see that I did see is I saw 12, 13, 14% interest rates when I was still a young adult, and they were coming down from upwards of 20%. But when I first got into real estate, I was, 10% interest was the game. That was what it was. And so when I saw things starting to trend up, I told everybody in the class, and Russ and anybody in my class to tell you, I told everybody, listen, if you want to get rid of it, get rid of it now. If you're going to keep it, you better refi it now. Opt for fixed rates, because the flexible rates aren't, the flexible rates aren't going to help you in the future, because you could just kind of see the writing on the wall, especially with inflation and everything else. And now we've had 4 horrible years under a terrible, administration. And hopefully, and I'll tell you what the cool thing is that looking forward, I think, we're going to have somebody new running the show, and it's not a girl, it's not a woman, but we're going to have, the country's going to be run like a business, and we're going to keep the money in the country. And that means a quicker, faster recovery from what we've got right now. But it doesn't mean we're not going to have some more rough times. Look, and as far as people telling you, don't buy, things are too high, or listen, bullshit. Listen, I bought 3 houses just in the last 4 or 5 months, and every one of them more than $100,000 margin of profit on 150 on the last one, maybe a little bit more. Russ he made a deal just in the last 6 months that, he'll probably make, more than $500,000 on. And he's done others as well. So these are the things that can happen. But anyways, if anybody wants to call in, you can call in. And if that's even possible. Oh, son, I don't see that we're operating here, buddy. Come take a look. I don't know if anybody wants to call in, let me know. But it looks like we may not be operating just at the moment. But if you want to call in, just say so, and I'll turn this back on. But oh, that's your phone, son. But it says, look here, son. It says it's out. Anyways, all right. Well, we'll do a talk another time. Anyways, go to flipanythingusa.com, and just here at the top, you can hit apply for mentorship, but hit the webinar. You'll get the link, and you'll be invited to come today at 3:30. I'll ask any questions you have. Alberto, you can jump in there as well, and I'll talk to you. But I will show you how I've made my fortune, how I made my first million in the 1980s. And you can see, all the kinds of properties, stuff that I own, still own, things that I've bought and made millions of dollars on. We're talking about apartment buildings. We're talking about houses. We're talking about land. Talking about individual lots, everything you drive by every day, and I'll show it to you anyways, but get in the mentorship and you'll get a free consultation basically. But again, like I say, just remember what I showed you here, and just understand there's a world of used equipment. used items out there, especially, pawn shops. So one of the reasons pawn shops do so well, right? They buy stuff at a fraction of the value, or they loan money at a fraction of the value of what something's worth, with the intention that they're probably going to keep it because the people aren't going to pay the high interest on it. And so then they end up keeping it, selling it, and they make even more. So just something to consider. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys in that webinar later on today.
Stop and listen. Time is on a mission to eliminate all of the snake oil and the fake gurus that fake y'all. He'll show you how to build an empire, starting with nothing but a desire. All you really need is a good mentor, not a used car bullshit. With time, you'll learn to crush it. Investing like Warren Buffett. With real estate, you cannot procrastinate. Everyone who hesitates is left at the starting gate. Hey, yo, so don't delay and join today. The mentorship and flip anything. USA, go.